organizational behavior and human resource management. And also under his previous engagement, Dr. Kumar has done the leadership roles as an assistant director of Teaching Learning Center and has been a course coordinator of National Resource Center, Ramanujan College, under the Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching scheme of the Ministry of Education. Dr. Kumar has been a founding managing editor of RIJBR, a UGC Care listed journal. Apart, his research interest includes behavioral and emotional issues that has been faced by employees at the workplace, such as employee engagement, effective utilization of organizational resources, organization development interventions to augment the well-being of the organization's employee. He has published various research articles in renowned publishing houses such as Emerald, Sage, Springer, Endorscience publishers that of course includes AVDC listed journals, Scopus, SSI, Web of Sciences listed. Dr. Kumar has reviewed the manuscripts for referred journals of Springer and Sage publishers and has presented the research papers and won the various best paper awards in national and international conferences in India and abroad. And he has been an editor of a special issue on leadership in organizations, contemporary concerns and key developments in the International Journal of Business and Globalization, which has been Scopus listed in 2020. He has contributed as an author for the Institute of Lifelong Learning, University of Delhi. Apart, PG Pathshala, sponsored by Ministry of Education for developing the PG teaching materials, and the National Mission on Education project that has been sanctioned by the Ministry of Education. Dr. Kumar has convened various FDPs, MDPs, and conferences and has been conducted scores of faculty development programs and workshops on research methodology, academic writing, academic integrity, and various hands-on sessions in the prestigious institutions such as Calcutta University, Hansraj College, SPM College, Shahid Bhagat Singh College, Sri Venkateshwar College, or Sri Aurobindo College, Institute of Home Economics, South Campus of the University of Delhi, Jamia Millia Islamia, Christ University, Bangalore, and various universities of IT universities. So I again welcome you. Over to you, Dr. Vikash.
Thank you very much, Vijay Lakshmi. And I would like to, at the onset, welcome all the participants who are here. I'm sure they know the structure of this session. So basically, we are going to, have a lot of interactions while we talk about multiple subject areas that I'm going to talk about. And also, I'm sure you must have gone through the video lessons regarding publication. So not to waste any more time on the introduction part, let's straight away move into why we should, what is that those things or caveats which help us in publishing in good journals. Though I would like to definitely say today that it's not easy. It has become difficult over time. More so, we have seen during the COVID pandemic period, multiple researches were done, and multiple research articles were submitted to journals. And because of that, the acceptance rate that we call for every journal is steadily decreasing. The rate is becoming lesser and lesser because a lot of articles are being now sent to these journals, reputed journals, and they are being rejected. Desk rejected also in most of the cases. Desk rejected. If you look into the journals statistical charts that they provide, you will see what is the desk rejection rates and so on and so forth. So basically, what it really means, what desk rejection is all about. So it's about you're sending your research article to a journal, and it is getting rejected at the preliminary stages, the first or second stage, I would probably say. So what does it say? Does it say that your article is bad or it has been poorly written? Or what can be the factors that is leading it to be test rejected? So there are some things that are very common, which can happen in most of the cases. But other than that, there can be various other reasons also, which I'm going to talk about today. So say, for example, you're submitting your article to a journal, and you have not made structural changes which are required to be submitted to that particular journal. By structural changes, I mean here, uh, what is the format of writing for that journal? What is the word limit? Okay. What is the referencing style? Also, maybe what are the contents which the journal is expecting from its uh, authors. So all these things come under that. So that's the style, the preliminary things that needs to be looked after. And closely related to this, thought is when we talk about reference management tools. Okay, I'll come to that a little later. So these are some of the reasons. The second reason which can happen, which can be there, is that it does not match with the scope or aim of that particular journal. Okay, so what does that mean? Scope and aim of a particular journal. So instead of sending out your articles to random set of journals for your research article, research manuscript, it's imperative that we read the aims and objectives of that particular journal, right? Uh, Also, another confusion which comes in the minds of the authors mostly is that it matches the scope of the journal, the aim of the journal. My manuscript is matching the scope of this particular journal. So still it is getting rejected on the basis of scope. So what should we do? So in such circumstances, it is better that we list out some of the articles that have been previously published in that particular journal, because it will help us in multiple ways. How? First, we'll know what is the writing style. Second, we'll know in what are the areas which are covered by that particular journal. Third, if some of the articles can be also cited, uh, in my own manuscript, some of the articles which have already been published in that particular journal, I would want to also cite them. That gives an impression to the editor that the person has seen the articles that have already been published in this particular journal and is mindful of that and has done good research on that aspect as well. Also, covering the previously published articles helps us in understanding that, okay, these are the areas which the journal is covering up. So I'll be looking into those aspects. So aim, scope, objective of that particular journal needs to be thoroughly read and understood, that whether or not it is capturing the essence. The second thing is, read some of the editorials of the journal that you're targeting, because in those editorials, the editors set out the agenda for the research. Right? So the agenda of research, in the sense that what are the things that we are expecting from the articles that are being submitted to this particular journal, and what are the areas that we want to cover. Better way is, in fact, if you're starting up a new project or something of that sort, you can look in for special issues which come out for specific journals. That will help you in understanding, and that these are the areas that the editorial team of that particular journal is looking at uh, in a way which is going to help you in publishing your article really fast. Okay, so these are some of the caveats. The third thing which is looked after by the journal editors, or even before that, is what we say publication ethics. Okay, so in terms of publication ethics, there are a lot of things that come into my mind, but I'll just focus on some of them. So say, for example, Springer journals, have this particular focus on the funding, from where the funding has come from. That needs to be mentioned. Second thing which needs to be talked about is the conflict of interest. Now, what is this conflict of interest? It means that the authors can have multiple conflict of interest. Say, for example, somebody who is on the board from where, or any particular organization that you have targeted in your research article, you are using that. Also, there can be conflicting interest in terms of you are yourself the editor of that particular journal, and there can be many other things which needs to be showcased beforehand. So you'll have to say, okay, there is no conflict of interest before you move into the other things. The other things in publication ethics is about redundant publication, a publication which is having no use, in the sense that it can be good otherwise. Say, for example, it can be descriptive research, uh, but it is not adding anything to the research domain. Okay, so this can be redundant publication. All right, there can be other things also which really impacts our, sorry for that, yeah. So there can be other things also which impact uh, the publication ethics, one being your plagiarism itself. Okay, so plagiarism is something which nowadays is being taken care of in a big way, because most of the publishing houses have their authenticate profiles there, so they will check it before they move in for other processes. But authors also are now aware about this publication, the plagiarism issues, and they are trying to make sure that they do not send out articles that are plagiarized. So closely related to this plagiarism issue, and how do you tackle that, is with the concept of uh, evidences in academic writing. All right, so maybe some sessions might have talked about this. I'll just quickly touch upon some of the aspects here quickly. So when we talk about evidences in academic writing, we say, if you're writing something, where do we find it, or how have we come to the conclusion that this is how we have to write the things? So description about a particular things, you have to provide evidence where you have taken it from. Was that your original idea that you're writing in your work, or is it something which you have borrowed from existing publications, or maybe any podcasts, or maybe things related to maybe even a discussion between people can be talked about and taken as plagiarism. So you have to mention from where or what sources the information has been taken. Okay, so evidences in academic writing can include citation, that means the attribution of the author, the year of publication. The second thing is word by word, when you take something word by word or verbatim from a particular place. In that sense, what you have to do is you have to use double quotes to mention that, okay, I'm taking this word by word. So that we call as, total citation that needs to be done through quotation. So that is there. The third thing is obviously the references. So how you are referencing it and what style the journal is looking for. So for that, I always advise everyone to use something. Yeah, I think, yeah, okay. Yeah, I have mentioned this before, Parul. So if any of you would, want to discuss on any of the topics that I'm talking about, you can put up your questions. Maybe we can also have a discussion with you. So this session is primarily on that aspect, wherein we'll be talking to you and discussing and deliberating on some of the real problems that you're already facing in your research work. So if there is any such question, you can always put that up on the chat box. So that was that. Agenda for today's workshop is mostly to understand some of the pathos in publication. Once we have the understanding and awareness of that, I'm sure most of you are already aware of it. If not, then this session may be helping you and will be helping you in some of those regards. Obviously, it's not a clear-cut mantra that if you're following this, you are going to get your article published in a jiffy. That doesn't happen because it takes years of uh, writing and being in the process that you really understand what really helps you in getting your article published in the top journals. In fact, even if you don't go for the top journals, if we are even talking about Scopus listed journals or UGC listed journals, now the criteria of publication is getting more and more stringent. Okay? As I said before, because of the number of entries in terms of the number of manuscripts that are being submitted constantly to these journals, it is becoming really difficult for them to process it in the way it was processed earlier. So there will be high rates of desk rejection if any of the things that I am mentioning is not being met. It's getting really harsh. It's getting really strict because when you have a lot of demands, the editors also will look for only those articles which will help them in increasing their site score or help them in increasing the impact factor. All right. And this is not just about the statistics, it's also about the originality of the research. Okay. So the way we are putting it or mentioning it, describing it in our article, that what really is this article all about? What new agenda it is setting, or what extension of theories it's talking about? All these things will impact if the article is published. So it's a daunting task. It takes if you're submitting it to any of the journals today, it takes 6 months to 1 year time for the publication, the entire cycle to complete. Because they can be, if I just mentioned to you, if somebody is a young researcher, is a PhD, is doing PhD currently and wants to submit articles in the best of the journals, you have to keep time at your hand, at your disposal first, and then start working on the publication part, because as I mentioned, it's not forgiving. Okay. And the best of the articles are generally published. So you take time at your stride and start working at the right earnest right from the very beginning, and look for all the pathos, look for all the weak areas in your research manuscript, which can be done better or done more robust, so that the publication process is smooth. So now if we talk about the different parts of a research article and the way it has to be written. If I start with the title itself of a particular, though generally we talk about the title at the end because that's how the entire process goes about. But if you look into the title of that particular article, it needs to be interesting today. Okay, it needs to be asking questions or providing for a new development. Okay, because the two things which the editors look at the very first step is, number one, the title, number two, the abstract of the particular article, and also not to forget the cover letter. The cover letter is equally important nowadays because, as I said, now how do you establish if your article really meets the scope and aim of that particular journal? So cover letter is a very important tool here, because in that you can specifically write, or in fact you can also cite some of the articles that have already been published. If you look into some of the editorials of that particular journal, as I've previously mentioned, it also needs to be, if you can mention or attribute some of the editorials that responding to the call from the editors regarding so and so aspect. I have worked on this particular area and have extended this particular theory. So in a way, what we are saying is that I have read the editorial that you are talking about. I understand what you want from me. I understand these are the critical areas of research which needs to be taken. And now I'm going to work, and I have worked on it. and this is how I have presented the work. All right. So cover letter is very important in just uh, to tackle the problem of test rejection, if I have to put it that way. So it has to be interesting in that sense. So the title needs to be interesting. It needs to ask questions. It needs to provide an information which is more or less complete. So it is really a task that needs to be fulfilled. The second thing is about the abstract. Now, how do you write the abstract? So abstract is, if you look into some of the Emerald, not some of Emerald Publishers Journal, you will find that they have structure set in beforehand for abstract. That means they say, okay, what is the purpose of doing this research? What was the methodology that you have followed? What was the analysis result that you have got? And what originality do you draw in from that research that you're working on? So these are the four things that is compulsory for any abstract which is published for Emerald. Okay, so they talk about purpose. So you will talk about why you started up this project. What did you intend to get? Okay, number one. Then you talk about the methodology part, wherein you say what methods did you use for, say, for example, you got in a survey done or an experiment was undertaken, or whether it's a qualitative study, quantitative study, or in, say, even mixed methodology study. So all these things will be covered there in the methodology part. The third thing which they talk about is the results. So there are a lot of things to really talk about when we say results, because we have maybe tackled 5 or 6 hypotheses. So do you mention all of them in the abstract section? No. Basically, the most intriguing ones, the interesting ones, which you think is the major contribution for your research, should be provided in that result section. And if the word limit, allows you to go in for a detailed description of the results, you can go for that. Mostly, you will have 100 words for, providing for the findings in Emerald journals. Then the final part, or the originality part, if you will look into, it says that now this is very important, the originality part. And therefore, I would want to also touch upon some of the things which are related to it. So when you say originality, what does it mean? Does it mean a complete new theory that you're talking about, or you have conceptualized on your own? Or you're talking about an extension of the theory, which has already been, done? Or you have singled out some of the limitations of existing theories that you have discussed and maybe established in your work. All right. So most of the young researchers, when they come into this entire process, they do find it difficult to say, okay, what is originality? If something, and I have also seen multiple researchers doing this, that they replicate the Western studies in terms of Eastern samples. So you're saying that you're using Indian sample for a study that has already been done in the West. Is it originality? Does it merit a publication in best of the journals? I would probably say no. Okay. The reason is that if you are having a different sample, but you're testing the same theory, which has already been tested multiple times in different samples, it does not have anything new to offer. Okay. So that way, that checklist, which helps you in understanding what really originality is, does not meet in this particular case. The second thing about originality then is what really is originality. If we are, so in that sense, please understand, if you are drawing out a limitation in a particular theory, I would categorize that as something which is original. Because, say, for example, social exchange theory, okay, which in fact multiple management disciplines, more specifically in organizational behavior, you will find social exchange theory being used to explain multiple relationships at work. Multiple. So now does the social exchange theory completely encapsulates most of the things that happen at workplace? So, say for example, it talks about transactions that happen in the organization. It talks about reciprocity. It talks about exchanges that happen. So you do it for me, I'll do it for you. So that kind of thing. So do you think that can this particular theory be extended with the help of that research that you're doing? So maybe just a food for thought here, okay, which can be clearly thought about with other theories in mind, more specifically the new theories which are coming in, say for example, a UTA-UT theory for your IT sector, or maybe if you look into the conservation of resources theory that has come up these days, and the extension of these theories that are being talked about. So not just negating these theories or finding out the limitations of these theories, it's also equally important to establish new relationships. Okay, some relationships you have constructs, but you don't have a novel relationship between X and Y. You have to find out that. If there is a relationship between X and Y, maybe you can add in a new dimension of a new mediator in that. So X leads to M, M leads to Y, kind of a relationship. Or maybe you can think about if that particular mediator has also been tested, then maybe you can look into a moderated mediation kind of approach, wherein you're talking about a new moderator, which impacts the relationship of X to M, or maybe M to Y. So all these permutation combinations can be done. Now, the questions that come up is mostly if we are, proposing or positing any specific relationship as a hypothesis, and it has not been done earlier, then where are we getting the literature support? Okay, so if I have to reframe the thought process here, what really is happening? The relationship is there. X leads to Y is not there in the literature already, and the researchers feel, in a way, handicapped that okay, this has not been talked before. So I always encourage the authors, researchers, that if something has not been done in the literature, if a relationship has not been found in the literature, you're not able to find it absolutely after even multiple searches you do on Google Scholar or on Scopus databases or Web of Science databases, and you're not able to find, which I find it very difficult for me to comprehend that such kind of a relationship is not there, because anything that you try to find out is either already there or a variant of it is already available. But if it's not there, it's a good news that the researchers should look into. Now, the only task before you is to give a justification that why X will lead to Y, or why X will associate with Y. And that you can do specifically by using the theories in your particular discipline. So you can look into your discipline area and you can see, okay, how do I explain this phenomenon? How do I give justification for this phenomenon? So that way, any theory that has already been proposed helps you in deciding on the relationship or the justification for that relationship. Also, multiple times it may happen that you may not get any theory which is really explaining a particular phenomenon at the workplace or otherwise. So what do you do in such a scenario? So maybe you would want to propose a new theory, which is in a way problematizing the entire landscape. So those researches which problematize an entire theory, an entire relationship, which has not been done before, not been tested before in any of the samples worldwide, globally, those are the seminal researches or most original researches. So going by the definition of originality, it has to be seminal in the sense that it's path-breaking. Nobody has thought about it. Nobody has tested it. If such a thing is common, and it does happen, but nobody has justified it, maybe you are providing that kind of justification, then it can be turned into a theory as well. So speaking of what really needs to be done and what is being done today in terms of, even if I look at some of the articles that I get for review or as an editor, we first look into that place where you are talking about how you are contributing to the entire literature on a particular topic. So what your contributions are, that part is really, really important. That shows what really originality is and is all about. So uh, in this case, the things that we do, and I'm generalizing it, most of the researches are done in the sense that we say it's gap spotting. So what gap spotting is, um, maybe we say a relationship has been tested, but it has not been tested for a particular time period or for a particular sample. All right, maybe a study has been done, a relationship between X and Y has been found, but it was done for middle level managers in a mid-eastern country. Okay, so maybe you would want to see what happens if the same is being tested on a teleworker, somebody who's working remotely, all right, and is at the lower level. So maybe that kind of gap spotting is being done, and that kind of gap spotting is being highlighted in the text early on. uh, so that is the second level of research that you are particularly doing. If we also find some of the articles wherein there is no mention about gaps or gaps in the literature. It's just about putting in some thoughts at all the places and getting away with it. So those articles will not be published in the best of the journals. Nowadays, most of the things specifically that are being looked upon are on the originality front. So abstract, I was talking about the abstract, and there comes the word originality. So you'll have to specifically write down what new relationship you tested in your study, and what did you draw out of it. Maybe one line on why it happens completes the abstract in itself. There are other things also which can be written in Emerald, structured abstracts, which are not compulsory. Say, for example, theoretical implication or practical implication of the study. All these things can be also provided for. Limitations of the study can also be provided for in an Emerald structured abstract. However, you may not completely do it in for all the other unstructured kind of abstracts. Say, for example, Springer does not have, Science Direct does not have any structure that they provide for their abstract. So what should be done in such cases where you don't have any structure clearly which has been said? So depending on what particular discipline you are working in, what particular journal you're targeting your article for, you look for multiple articles that have already been published in that journal, and then see that how the published articles abstracts have been written and drafted for. The commonalities which will come definitely is, first one, nowadays, one more thing which we do, which rejects, there is a rejection, that's rejection, the wrong that we do, not immediately, but maybe also at a later stage your article will be rejected when we make it, say, India specific. When we say that, okay, this study is India specific, or we also write for Indian sectors or other things like that. Okay, if it's a regional journal, it's all right. It's particularly for a particular place, the audience have specified, completely fine. The readability is there, audience is there, it's completely fine to put in, okay, this is for the Indian banking sector or Indian IT sector. You can do that. But if you're targeting a global journal which caters to global audience, then in that case, specifying it for, say, Indian population, it doesn't work that way. So what do you say? You say that this study was done, this particular relationship was tested, but it was done for but it is, in a way impacting the entire global landscape, and not just talks about one particular country. Though we have taken a sample which corresponds with India, but it's not India specific in that sense. Okay, it can be also replicated in other parts of the world. Extending this particular thought, if I just talk about on this, on the sample of any study, it is great if we move from cross-sectional data to more of longitudinal data, or maybe different time cross-sectional data. So what really it is, so say cross-sectional data is when you have all your variables defined. You have defined your independent, dependent, mediator variables, moderators that you're taking in, and at a specific time period, maybe say time 1, you have administered your instrument to n number of people that constitute your sample, and you have got that responses. Maybe 300 odd data that you're getting, or 400 odd data that you're getting. So that's done. That's cross-section. So for example, if you want to convert it into longitudinal, then you would want the same people whom you have collected the data in time t1. That's wave 1 also. It's also called wave 1. You're collecting the data from the same people later on, right? Maybe say 6 months down the line, or 1 year down the line, or whatever time period is suitable. That also brings in the concept of temporal separation, okay, which reduces the chances of having common method biases also. Also, it reduces the chances that some results is coming because of chance or because of any specific factor. So what we collect data on in different time periods, and then we would want to say what changed. So R square was for one particular time period was this, and for second time period it's now this, and this changed or this did not change. So that way, if there is not much change that you can look into or decipher, in such situation your research will have incremental validity. Okay, in the sense nowadays, if you're looking for A star kind of journals for publishing, or maybe also better journals having high impact factors greater than 7 or 8, in that you're looking for longitudinal data. They're looking for mixed methodology studies. Cross-sectional is generally fumed upon because of two things. First, it does not provide incremental validity. That is true. The second thing, which is problematic with cross-sectional design, in even more also in longitudinal design, is that you cannot really measure the cause and effect relationship. All right. So you will see that the reviewers, if you're already in this field and you're already working to set up your articles, you're sending to different journals and you're getting reviews, you will see the things like they'll say you have proposed the hypothesis that X will impact Y. Okay, so in a way, X is the predictor, Y is being predicted. Okay, so X is the independent, Y is the dependent variable. I mean, this is how you're proposing your hypothesis, that X is impacting or causing Y. Then they will put a question mark on that, because why they'll put a question mark? Because they'll say that you have used cross-sectional data to find out something which is related to the causality. But cross-sectional data is not sufficient to prove causality. Okay, and what is then the way out for this kind of? So anybody who is starting their researches, maybe you can look into for mixed method studies. Okay, wherein you have cross-sectional data. Okay, it is definitely time consuming. It will bring in a lot of your resources and other things, but you do cross-sectional if you want to do it. Otherwise, design an experiment around those variables of your choice. Designing of experiments can be of different types, wherein you can manipulate your independent variable. Okay, you can manipulate your X. You will also see that the reviewers are talking about the problems of endogeneity and other things. If you're submitting your article to, say, for example, leadership quarterly. You will find that these comments are very much evident that the data is cross-sectional. There's problem of endogeneity. They'll also say in a closed experimental setup, controlled experimental setup, you have not tested the relationship, and therefore there is problem. So these things are now being increasingly seen in the academic discipline, which was not there, say, 5 to 10 years before. More and more of cross-sectional or survey type data was being published, but now these things are getting more importance. So experiments are and will remain the gold standard of any kind of research design. So if you're new into this and if you want to study more or do some more researches on it, maybe instituting experimental design for your research can be good, in which you can always set in, say, some scenarios can be provided for. Maybe one specific session on experimental research can be done by Ramanujan College, wherein specific things about what and how you manipulate the independent variables, how do you set controlled experiment or or the environment for the experiments, all can be discussed around that. So however, I do not say that cross-sectional research is, most of my research is in itself cross-sectional, in the sense cross-sectional or survey researches cannot be negated. Why? Because it provides you as a first thought. Okay, before you set up for an experiment, maybe cross-sectional research is a good way of establishing that there can be an association between X and Y. So nobody is saying you to say that there is a causality. Don't say there is a cause and effect. You can put it across as that there is an association between X and Y, and that will perfectly hold true. So even if you're saying that there is X and Y are closely related or associated, then you're providing a food for thought for other researchers to take up and establish that kind of relationship with more robust and stringent experimental designs. Okay, so these are the things that you put across when you're talking about your abstract. So so once you are into this, I'll quickly, I moved into almost all the aspects here, and I'll just give you a brief outline of what things that should be there in each of the sections. Say, for example, what should be there in the introduction section. Okay, so in the introduction section, instead of talking about a lot of things which authors do, almost all the things related to a particular thing. Maybe if you're talking about a research which is related to COVID-19, maybe you'll write all the things which are concerned with COVID-19, and then maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs later you're coming to your work. Is it good or bad? We do not know it completely, because there are different ways of writing it. But I personally have this thought that you should start with the things that concern your research. Okay, it has to be start from the very beginning. Give a larger picture in the first paragraph, that how this research is important. Okay, how it is going to impact the global research in a big way. That you can provide in your first paragraph. With the second paragraph onward, you can start operationalizing your constructs that are there in your mind, that you would want to test, or you have already tested. Okay, so maybe start talking about the relationship between X and Y, and operationalize or define it with different aspects. The first 2-3 paragraphs can be provided for that, and then maybe on the 4th paragraph of your introduction, you can talk about the specific proposed contribution of this study. Okay, so how it comes. So once you're operationalizing in the previous paragraphs, maybe you can talk about the relationship of X and Y that has not been done before, or has been done in a different way before by citing some articles which concern that. So maybe providing a limitation of previous researches, you are then going to the next step and saying that now I'm fulfilling these gaps. that are there in the previous researches. Now I'm fulfilling. Through my study, I'm going to fulfill this. So this is how you move forth in the introduction section. Instead of writing all the things, it's better that you focus on what things have been done. Is it complete? If not, then what is left out? What are the gaps? And how I'm going to fill it up? Okay, or what my study really concerns with. So this can be done, talked about in second or third paragraph. In the fourth paragraph, actually you summarize what you have talked earlier. So you say that, okay, having gone through the literature, these are the specific things that have not been done. And my research is, or I propose that I'm going to contribute it in this particular ways. Akhil, I think you can mute yourself. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I was talking about the entire discussion. Now, maybe with I can show you, how actually some of the research papers in best of the journals are written, which will give you a good thought on, why I'm talking about these things. So I'll quickly share my screen. Okay. So this is one of the articles that has been published in Journal of Vocational Behavior. So, so I've just highlighted some of the parts. If you look into this carefully, this is the introduction. Okay? This is the introduction. The first paragraph, we are talking about the world. You see, the world has been picturized here. And this gives a global thought process regarding the research that is being undertaken. Right in the second paragraph, what they talk about, you see, prior research has largely focused on identifying coping strategies that can decrease the negative consequences of job insecurity, largely focused. Okay, so they are talking about limitation right from the second paragraph. So prior research has to be criticized right from the very beginning. All right, as we go forth, you see, these are the things that have been done. So you're giving in all the recent researches that have been done concerning your research that you're doing and how you're filling up the gaps. After doing that, you're writing, while extent research on proactive coping with job insecurity is promising. That means you give, okay, the things that have been done before are good, but it has not yet been able to capture if and how proactive coping at one point in time can indeed serve to modify later feelings of job insecurity. So you see the lines that have been used here. It has not been able to capture if and how. So now I'm saying that I will, through my research, say that how I'm going to capture if and how of proactive coping. Okay. Now you see, this is almost the second paragraph they're talking about here. Through our longitudinal design, we aim to create insight into intra-individual changes. So you see, they're talking about their research design, what they want to do. As such, our approach will advance our theoretical knowledge on coping with job insecurity. Clearly, this is talking about theoretical contribution. So advancing the theory part. You see, each line moves from one line to another line. If you look into it, this talks about a sequence of event which needs to be provided for. Okay, this is a star journal, so you can always understand the kind of rigor that goes into. Now, this paragraph, almost the second last paragraph of introduction, is very, very important, wherein we talk about that what we have done in our current study, okay, or what we propose to do in our current study. And exactly this thing has to be also written in the discussion section, or more specifically in the conclusion section. So what are the whatever things I'm proposing here that I'm going to do, or I'm going to contribute, the exact things need to be also told at the later sections after my results have been discussed. Okay, so you see, we conceptualize job insecurity as a continuous stressor in a 5-wave longitudinal survey. So 5-wave means it is T1 time period today, then T1 then T2, T3, T4. So 5 time periods wherein the same respondents will be asked questions at different time periods. So you see over a period of time how things have changed in the same respondents. So that's longitudinal survey. Cross-sectional is when you do it for one time period only. All right. So now we investigate whether weekly proactive. So now you see how they are built around here. And specifically, if you look into the writing style, by doing so, I'm going to the last paragraph. By doing so, we address an apparent contradiction between this proposition, that means this author's proposition, that proactive and reactive coping require different behaviors to be successful. So in a way, you're saying that this is my original contribution of this research. Okay, so this second last paragraph could be very, very crucial. And also, this is not a final word out, because different journals have different ways in which things are written. All right. So our research contributes to extant literature in 4 ways. So you can put it across that, and then you can clearly move to the second section, which we say is theory development or theoretical development and hypothesis development. So theoretical background and hypothesis development. So you see, directly taking your operationalized constructs which you want to test directly into the second section, which we talk about, which we say as literature review in our study. So you go in there and do it exactly like that. I'll leave you with a lot of these articles. I can provide you the references. You can read that. But if you can just look into any one of the A-star journals in your discipline area, maybe if you're coming from strategy, you can look into Journal of Strategy. If you are into organizational behavior, you can look into Journal of Organizational Behavior or Journal of Vocational Behavior. If you are coming from marketing, maybe you can look into Journal of International Marketing. If you're doing simple business researches, then maybe Journal of Business Research can be a good way. If you're looking into management researchers, so Journal of Management or Academy of Management journals, you can see all these journals and their articles that they publish. You'll find that there is a rigor which they follow in each of the articles that are published. So anything which does not make sense is not there. You will not find a single line in these articles which don't make sense. Okay, and this is how you really provide for when you're doing an excellent work. And it does not come immediately. It comes with practice. I'm still working on this, still trying to understand the art behind writing. In fact, getting the results as per your liking is not enough. You have to link it with the previous researches that have been done in that area, and also showcase that why it is important. Now, what is the original thing that you're bringing into the literature on that subject, and then maybe you can think about getting the thing published. So you see, when I say about the hypothesis development, you see, you're talking about proactive coping with ongoing job insecurity. So we are talking about two constructs here: proactive coping and ongoing job insecurity. And you will see all the things that have been written here in this paragraph concern proactive coping and jobs insecurity. Except for these two things, there are nothing else that you will find in this place. Also, maybe they would try to draw in some theory to explain the relationship between the two constructs that they are talking about. And then after this, maybe you can propose a hypothesis. Now you will see that if you have already submitted to some of the these journals, they will ask you that, is this hypothesis new or has not been tested before? So again, it needs to be you need to be very, very careful that once you're proposing a hypothesis, be very clear that this research has, or this relationship has not been investigated before this way, the way you are doing it. And it's also good that we provide a single tailed hypothesis. You see, in this case, amount of weekly career planning is negatively related. So you are providing for the direction of the relationship. Okay. So direction is very, very important, because that way you are proposing that what is the way out, or what is the outlook here. Okay. It's very important. So remember one thing, while you're proposing any hypothesis, one thing which is important is only look out for two constructs and the relationship between two constructs in that particular hypothesis. Or if you are bringing in a mediator and a moderator, then explaining that also in the hypothesis itself. Okay, so it's important that we make it brief, and direction is specified here clearly, that how you are providing for this. And you see, if you are saying that amount of weekly career planning is negatively related, this is how you're proposing it, then this paragraph which you have written before should talk about the negative relationship of career planning to job insecurity. So that needs to be provided for. You don't see a lot of citation in this part, because maybe this research has not been done, or this relationship has not been tested before, and therefore you don't see a lot of citation in this part. So it's a good thing. Okay, you don't have to feel bad about it, that okay, we don't have something that has been tested before. Many people get jittery because of that. Okay, that this has not been tested before, I cannot find the relationship to be tested before. So it's a good thing. Only thing that you have to do is find out a theory which matches the description and is able to justify the relationship that you're seeking. Even if you do not get a theory which is and I'm sure, though I'm telling you that you, even if you do not get a theory, I'm sure you will get a theory which explain that relationship in a better way. Even if you do not get a theory in line with that, maybe you can look out for possible justifications with real examples. Okay, even if it's not a real example, maybe you can suppose that example and write about it. Okay, what can happen in an organizational setup? So that way you can also provide for. However, it has to be logical. It should, whatever relationship you're proposing needs to be justified that way. Okay, so as we move forth with it, you see hypotheses have been provided for, and then this part, which is again very, very important, is your conceptual framework of what you want to test. So maybe you can provide for H1, H2, H3 as they have provided. These are the hypotheses. So proactive coping, they have 5 elements they've taken as career planning, scenario thinking, career consultation, networking, reflecting. And all of these H1A, B, C, D, E, that's how they have proposed the hypothesis. Now you see this time is T plus 1. So as they have 5 wave of time period or longitudinal study that they have done. So what they've done is, maybe if I've understood it clearly, and that you can look into the method part of this study, that proactive coping, these independent variables have been measured at time T, and then job insecurity was measured at time T plus 1. So what if there will be coping at time T, then what will be its association with job insecurity at time T plus 1? So maybe that way a design has been done. And then a psychological strain also, which is measured at T plus 1. So not done at, so you are measuring these constructs at different time periods, which again shows the rigor of the study which has been undertaken. If I go forward, you can see some T minus 1 is also taken. So you have to look into it carefully, that how the study has been designed. So in the method section, you can always talk about the context, the participants, the procedures that were followed. It's good if we talk about the mean age, the standard deviation. This is how you provide for the demographics. Is good way of doing it. How did you recruit your participants? Even if it was done via social media, how was it done? Did you provide for any kind of compensation to the participants for filling out the survey. You see, they say the participants received a dollar, not dollar, it's a Euro 5 voucher for completing the first survey, then Euro 15 voucher for completing all 5 surveys. So they went in for 5 surveys, and then total of 314 participants registered. I'm sure they must have also talked about at different time period. Yeah. So it was a weekly survey. So time period is divided in different weeks. So sample size for subsequent weekly survey was, say, and T1 was 266. So at time T1, 266 participants came. At T2, 256 came. So 10 got reduced even after paying them for being a part of the survey. And at time 3, again 255, 1 dropped out. T4, 254, again 1 dropped out. T5, 249, 5 dropped out. So that way you see the sample size has been provided for. And at the end of the day, they say that 248 participants filled in all the 5 surveys. Okay. So, and then after doing this, what they talk about in the method section is the measures. So basically from where this measure was taken, was it developed or was it taken from an already existing instrument? Was it modified or not? So they say that please see appendix for all the items. It's a good way of providing. If there is a limitation on the word limit, please use this, see appendix A for all items, and you can use appendix as supplementary material for your provision of the instrument if you have to completely show it. Then you can say talk about the baseline variables and how it were measured. It's important also to provide for, say, one sample item or one question taken from the entire instrument and how you have measured it. So Likert scale has been used, 1 to 7 Likert scale. So all the things have been mentioned, and it does not require a lot of tables to be shown. So there, please be informed that many of the journals frown upon use of a lot of tables, and tables should be used sparingly. That means 4 to 5 tables maximum, and similarly that with the figures, and the things which are provided in the table should not be talked about much in your text. So they say that tables should be self-explanatory, in the sense that you cannot keep on repeating the information. That's not required. And this is a good standard way of presenting the mean, standard deviation, correlation for the study variables. You see age, gender, education, all the things, all the variables, study variables, and the standard deviation, mean, and the correlation have been provided for here. It's a very nice way of presenting the information. All right. In the table 2, you can look into the multi-level path analysis that they have done, and maybe for different studies, other things can be provided for. So this is the results section. This is a very good way of presenting the information. All these things, if you keep on writing about it, you will see you will use 5 to 6 pages, which has been converted this way in one page. So you can, as you can look in, you have also provided for bootstrap, confidence intervals and other things are also provided. Significance is provided for relationship, the direction, everything is provided clearly. So in one paragraph itself, one table itself, they were able to provide the information which would have run down in 5 pages. And then they talk about the results, and then supplemental finding, and then they come to discussion, major findings, theoretical implications, and limitations on future researchers, practical implications. So basically, any of the research paper that you would look into, clearly, what you have to do is give some time to what they are writing, how they are writing, how the things are being presented. In the discussion section, if you particularly look into after the results, so discussion, you can say, or some of the journals also say main findings. Okay, I was talking about this generally, change in the chi-square, degrees of freedom, change in CFI value. So these are the things which you will get when you do more of longitudinal studies in your study work. Okay, so main findings or the discussion things, you see how they have taken it hypothesis wise. When I say hypothesis wise, I say picturize your hypothesis, what you have taken or considered, and by taking in each of the hypotheses, you explain what you got. Okay, address the hypothesis, accept or reject it on that basis. All right. Maybe you can keep on talking about it in the supplemental findings, but you don't find supplemental findings much in the study work. So in the discussion, many of this, authors also talk about theoretical implication and practical implication. So how it is impacting the theory is provided for in the discussion. I'm sure this changes for journals. For each journal, it will change the way of things, but mostly most of the journals will follow the IMRAD format. So I is for introduction, M is for method, okay, R is for results, and D is for discussion. So mostly those are the things which will be there. Mostly other things will fill in between. All right. So you have to give or ask questions, as in what is your first contribution, second contribution, the things that you laid down in your introduction section. You have to do it contribution wise. So you see, we contributed to the limited knowledge of job insecurity, how that has been provided for. So you see, I'll have to look into the words. So it's important to note a second contribution. So they were talking about the first contribution in the first two paragraphs of theoretical implication, and then the second contribution of the study, and then the third contribution of the study. And then you will also look into the fourth contribution of the study. So all these four contributions you will also find in the introduction section. And this is very important part, because what you have promised in the introduction that you're going to do, you have done it. And this is how you are providing for in the implications or the conclusions section. All right. So mostly how you present it, even if your research is very good, but you are not able to present it well, things will not be very good if you're aiming for a very good journal. So we have to give a lot of time to these things. It's something which definitely doesn't come in 1 day or 2 days work. It's a process. Eventually, if you read lot of research articles coming from the best of the journals, you will find that there is complete harmony. So that's the process. That's what I wanted to explain. If you're understanding the process well, the publications will come eventually. And it's not very important that you keep on looking after only the best of the journals for your publication. It's even good if you are going for a Scopus Index journals, you're getting your articles published. But ensure that you are not sending out your articles to predatory journals that charge you, $5,000 for publishing, and they publish it within a week. Don't go for those things. Maybe if you do not get a good home for your research in the best of the journals, because it's really tricky. Even if you have done a lot of things correctly, the chances are high that your article will still be rejected. All right. Because of the paucity of space. Okay, so this is also something which we have to deal with. So it has to be that way, that you don't get disheartened even if your article gets rejected. If it's going for peer review process, it's a good start. If you're not getting your article test rejected by the best of the journals, then it's a good start, I would say. And with the suggestions that come in after the review is done, you can use that and then send your article to other not so good journal. Maybe if you have sent it in A star and got a review, you were able to get a review and then rejection, then maybe you can use that review to send your article to a category journal. However, it's a process which is lengthy, hectic, and will impact your resources that you're having, mental, physical, emotional resources. But then you have to bear with it, persevere, and maybe at the end of the day, you will be successful out. So the common methods, the issues I just talked about it, that will help you in the publication process, the journey itself. So that was that. If you have any questions, please go for it. Any questions from the participants? I would be happy to take your questions.
So, there are certain questions that has been asked, Dr. Vash.
Please go ahead, ma'am, if you have it.
Yeah. So the first question, the essential thing that has to be considered before submitting an article to a journal, what could be the important things?
Oh, what are the things that needs to be considered? There are a lot of things that
Before
needs to be considered. The first thing is, I don't believe in the process wherein you select the journal at the later stage. You do it at the beginning stages. You select a journal in the beginning stages and see what they require. Look into for all the caveats that they provide for, and then mold your article, which is very similar to the way the article is published in that particular journal. So most of the problems will be taken care of. But going by the question, look into for what references they use. Okay, if you use reference management tools, it is a great thing. You can, with a click of the mouse, you can change it from Emerald to Sage to anything else. They have their, say for example, Emerald Harvard style or Sage Harvard style, or you can go for APA style in a quick while. So if you're using any of the reference management tools, be it EndNote, be it Zotero or Mendeley, use that. It will definitely help you at later stages. Even when your article gets rejected in one of the journals that you were looking for and sending to another journal, it really helps if you have used reference management tool. So yeah, look for the references that have been done. Look for the number of words before you're sending out your article. These things majorly cover what you have to look into. Also, it's good that if you are able to cite some of the previously published papers from that particular journal. And obviously, that should match, that should align, that should take the discussion forward, not just for the sake of referencing, you are referencing it. So if you're doing all these things, these are the caveats. Look for the articles, look for the journal scope. Okay, if it's outside the scope, they will also clearly write down. Some of the journals are so good that they will clearly write down, if you are doing this, then we are going to reject your article. So read those things carefully before you submit your article to that particular journal.
So the next question.
Yes, please.
Okay, so how to select a proper journal?
Okay, so for a selection process, again, I advise that you look into the literature. Okay, when you're reviewing the literature, when you're building up your conceptual or conceptual direction of the relationships, you will find multiple articles being published in multiple journals. Okay, see which journal is getting more and more repetition in terms of the kind of articles you are using for your work. Okay, so that is your journal that you need to look out for, because that can be a good home to your manuscript. Okay, so that way, this is the one thing that you can do. And nowadays we also have AI tools like Journal Finder, okay, which are offered by almost every. Let me just quickly share my screen and show that to you. So yeah, so maybe if you look into Journal Finder, so Journal Finder for Elsevier, it will help you in finding out which journal would you want to go in for. So you enter your paper title, enter your abstract, enter relevant keywords, enter field of study, and then you just click on find journals, and it will give you a lot of journals, maybe 10 to 50, depending on the suitability, and that way you can put in across. But I'm not a very big fan of this. This is not the way you really go about it. I go in for more traditional methods. So look out for the journals that you're already citing in your work, and then from there and zoom in to some of the journals. Write down 5-6 journals that you would want to look out for later on, and that is how you go about it. Yeah.
Next question, what care should be taken while writing an article?
Come again.
So yeah, what care should be taken for writing an article?
I think the whole session was about that. So I will just skip this part. Maybe you can go for another question. Yeah.
Yeah, another question by Twinkle Mahajan. Apart from Google Scholars, from where we find the research articles?
Yeah. So Scopus, I would consider, if you have access to Scopus database, go for it. Therein, I'll just show you the interface. But I think, Google Scholar is good enough, but it provides a lot of information that is also there. So maybe this is how you look into when you search for an article in the Scopus. If you have got institutional email ID, use that. See if your organization gives you access for other articles here. So you can already make good searches here. Just use double quotes for any search that you do. So maybe work engagement, and then close the double quote. Okay, and then maybe, and if you want, say, something which is very synonymous with the thing, so you use or, and then put in say employee engagement, which are very similar looking constructs, and then search. So you will get some, let me see if it's working. Let me do it again. Oh, it's asking me to sign in. Give me a second. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I got some 9,475 documents results. Okay. And now you see, I can, in Scopus, I can, limit my search. So say, for example, I want only researches which have been done in 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And say, for example, I want that subject area be defined only as business management and social sciences, psychology, maybe that much. Or maybe an article type. I don't want conference paper. And that's that, I guess. And I want an English language, and I also want source type to be the journal. I'll just use limit to. So it was 9,000 plus 9,004, and now it comes to 2,988 documents. Good enough to begin with, and then you can always look into, what the article is and search for it according to your own keywords. Maybe you can also try using different keywords, and some permutation combinations here and there can help you in finding out the right kind of documents for your study. Yeah.
So the next question by Dr. N. Maria Jose. Can a researcher publish articles in interdisciplinary area?
Why not? That is the fervor of the town right now. In fact, using methodologies from different backgrounds help you in getting the article published. Say, for example, you see a lot of management journals are publishing bibliometric studies, but what happens inside those tools, say, for example, bibliometrics tool or BiblioShiny, what is happening behind that? There's always a formula to that. If you're using that to showcase things, it's a great way to, and you will see that information technology, IT sector journals use more economics, they use more of equations. It is also that we have a lot of equations, just that we skip them. We don't use it much, but using those equations in our research manuscript will definitely help in the publication process. And about interdisciplinarity, if I have to talk about, a lot of things are being now done that way. Say, for example, I'll just give you an example. AI in human resource management is interdisciplinary only. And this is the fervor of the town right now. People are looking for things, say, for example, using blockchain in finance. So the list is out. You look out for the special issues. You'll see most of the things are interdisciplinary. Okay, so it's a good way to start the things. And also you'll have a lot of scope in publishing it in both the fields of study, or maybe if you're using three disciplines can accommodate your research. So that way you're increasing your chances of getting published. Yes.
Next question by Dr. Sham. How one get UGC peer-reviewed journals? I think how one can get a list, I believe, of UGC peer-reviewed journals. Am I right, Dr. Sham?
So how does one get UGC peer review journals? I think that the question talks about the list of UGC articles or something of that sort. You have to go to UGC Care site. It is being looked up by I think Savitribai Phule University. So go to that site, create one account of yours there, and specifically if you have to find out a journal, you can search. So any Scopus index journal or any Web of Science index journal is also there in UGC index. Okay, it's there in the UGC Care list. Apart from that, if you have to look into, then you have to go into UGC Care list and you have to create an account there, and then you can get a list of the articles, journals which are there listed there.
The next question.
Yeah.
By Dr. Kiran Deep. Your views about the publication in Scopus journals which have APC and are peer reviewed and take time to publish to after revision.
You see, I would not suggest a new young researcher who is into this field to go in for those journals which are charging you something for publication. I'm not saying that they are predatory or they are not good. They must be good. In fact, APCs in some of the journals are also introduced in order to keep away disinterested work or work which are not meeting the journal guidelines. So therefore, they charge upfront also some journals, and later on also some journals charge. But there is no dearth of journals that don't charge anything. So why not to try those better journals which don't charge anything? And then maybe later on, if you're so very much into that publishing that particular journal with charges, there's nothing wrong in it, because when you do not have a funding agency or a university to fund your journal, then you resort to APC. So it's nothing wrong in there. But in the same essence, if I have to talk about going for predatory journals, which charge you money upfront and say that, okay, we are going to publish your article in a week or so, is not the right way to move forward. So yeah, about how much time it takes to publish after revision, this is something which even I am dealing with. In fact, everyone who is into this deals with it. It takes too much of time, and even after revision it gets rejected. It's very painstaking, but this is how the process is, and we have to take it with a pinch of salt. So it does take time, and it is a process which is not forgiving. So my views are that on this particular topic. Yeah.
Next question by Dr. Hemkant. There are not many journals in UGC Care listed journals. What is the process to publish the paper in the same?
Yeah, so basically UGC Care listed, there are a lot of, as I said, all the Scopus listed journals are UGC Care listed journals. All the Web of Science listed journals are UGC Care listed. And there are some in, I think, which are published by the universities which are in the UGC list. The procedure is Very easy. What you have to do is to earmark one particular journal that you want to publish your article in, and then do everything which it takes to get your article published there. That means prepare your article in a way which is suitable to their the style of publication. Also look into all the aspects that I just talked about today, coming from the originality part to the structuring of the article part. It will not be very difficult for you to publish in a UGCKL listed. If you're aiming for a A star or A kind of a journal, UGCKL listed journals, though I'll not, would take anything away from UGCKL listed journals, because in fact, those are also the journals which are aiming to get themselves listed in Scopus of Web of Sciences. So they are equally having stringent or robust practices in place. So it's not very easy going for the entire process, but if you look out for all the things that I just talked about in the entire session, it may not be very, very difficult. Yeah.
Next question by Amit Goyal. Can you please tell some journals who gave response in a month?
No, I cannot say that. No, you see, I'll tell you. Go to shimago.com. I'll just show you. So it's like this. So, okay, and maybe you can look for the journal rankings and try to find out the journals from here. Okay, and then maybe say, for example, I go to, just let me put in some subject areas here. So I'll put in business management and accounting. So it's based on H-index and other things. It's providing you the best of the journals. So Academy of Management Annals, and so these are the best of the journals. If you go on keeping on the list, you see there are 1,500 of them. Okay, there are a lot many of them. You can also look in for only open access, only Web of Science journals. Also, you can do that. If you want to do it with all subject categories, you can do it. Now, if you want to know how much time it takes. Okay, so maybe say I go to Strategic Management Journal and try to see what they provide to me here. So while you're looking for, you can also see some similar journals to this particular journal. Okay, let me see if that information is provided, how much time it takes. I generally don't think that kind of information is there, but if I go to the home page of this journal, maybe here somewhere you may find that how much time does it take to provide a decision. Okay. Or you can just, put it as a Google search that how much time this particular journal takes. In a way, if I have to put it this way, some of the journals will provide you the first decision within the first 15 days without fail. Some of the journals will take around a month to do that. And some journals may even take more to give you the first decision. So you'll have to look out for, you'll understand the entire process, how by being participant in that. So I know which journals take a lot of time, but almost all journals will take at least 15 days to give you the first decision. Okay, if you're lucky enough, you'll get in a week's time. And in a week's time, if you're getting a decision, it is mostly reject. So you don't want that to happen. So you want it to go in past 6 months so that you're getting an R&R, that is revise and resubmit. So that way, I would not put it like that you get it in 1 month. There is no such list. Maybe you can prepare that for all others. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Next question by Dr. Hemkant. Many journals claim to have good impact factor, but the authorities do not accept the same. Which impact factor is authentic? Okay, so impact factor is only which is provided by Clarivate. Clarivate is it was first by Thomson Reuters. Now it is taken by Clarivate. So that is the only authentic source.
Okay. Nowadays, that is also kind of fraud which is happening. Most of some of the predatory journals, I'll put it like this, provide for a impact factor in their landing page, where they will say, okay, it's 5 or 6 or 7. Don't go by that. Just go to Web of Science web page, put the article's name there, check for the impact factor. In fact, most of the predatory journals that are saying that they have an impact factor are even not listed in the Web of Sciences. So we have to be very careful here. There are a lot of fraud in the process. So I'm sure those organizations, institutions are looking for the authentic Clarivate produced impact factor or site score as provided by Scopus Elsevier. So these are the two things which we look for. So either you go for Web of Science website, or you go to the Scopus website, any which way. Yeah.
Next question by Dr. Maheshwari. Many fake journals are available with same outlook. Could you please provide us some reference journals?
Come again, please.
Yeah, many fake journals are available with same outlook. Could you please provide us some reference journals?
Okay. It's about cloned journals. If I am not wrong, this is what you want to say. It's so yeah. Again, we have to be very careful. And if I have to provide you with some reference journals, as I said, go to shimago.com, and I just showed you some of the journals. How can you go in for search? You can also go in for Web of Science and look in for all the indexes, all the index journal there. Also, you can go to Scopus and find the journals there. And from there, you can follow their web page, okay, or home page. Do not go for cloned journals. But it's not very difficult to find out that they are fake ones. All right. So going through the proper channels, and you will find it's relatively easy. Yeah.
Next by Amit Goel, how to get more citation of our publications? Okay,
I think it's a good question, but I think first thing that you should do is create an account on ResearchGate, create an account on SSRN. Ensure that your article is somehow getting reflected on the Google Scholar page of yours. Create a post of your publication on your LinkedIn page, mentioning what were the important contributions of your study. Broadcast it through different channels, so that it reaches out to maximum number of people. Provide it in your Twitter account or anywhere else you would want to put in and publish, because that will increase the the reflection. In fact, you will see the new term, which is altmetrics, talks about the social media presence of that particular manuscript. So the more and more the article is read, the more citations it will garner. But here you have to be very careful about where your article was published. So there is an embargo period before you can, make your article publicly available. So, but however, one thing which most of the journals provide you is after your acceptance, you can, or after your final version comes in, you can still publish that, that article which was in the initial stages of submission to a journal, to the journal which you submitted. So before any changes were made in that particular article, you can put it on the on your own pages, as I talked about SSRN or ResearchGate or Academia. You can put in there. Okay, so that will definitely help you in increasing the presence of your article, and people will read more and more of that. But will it lead to more citations? Is something which we do not have any take on. So citations come if the authors feel that, okay, your research is taking the literature forward in that way, and that needs to be cited. So if your article is good enough, it will get cited. But to increase the visibility of our research, this is how you go about it. Yes.
That's the questions that has been asked. If any other questions, you can post in the chat box.
I think Navya wants to ask something.
Okay, yeah. Navya, you may go on. Or you may write.
Navya, you can just try
Hi,
unmuting
ma'am.
yourself.
Yes, actually, it was disabled. So now I think
Yeah.
you can hear me. So
Yes.
just one question. This is a common problem that I think others also face. We sometimes participate in conferences because there is a publication opportunity in those conferences. And somehow that publication, that conversion doesn't happen from a conference paper to the publication. Either it is on the part of the organizer or there is something lacking in the paper. But if you could give us some suggestions on this front, because we may have some good papers, and how to better utilize that and convert that into a publication.
Great. So one, associated question, which conferences, you are actually going for is very, very important. If you can, if you look into the best of the conferences that are happening nowadays, they're also online. So maybe in our field, maybe Academy of Management conference, you can go in for, or maybe I just attended a conference, the ANSM conference, Australia New Zealand Management Academy of Management conference. So these are the conferences wherein you go and submit your article. You will find that you will get good reviews, if even if it's not accepted for even for the presentation, they'll provide you good reviews, which you can take it forward for publication. Please look out for the best of the conferences before you're submitting your article to those conferences, and if there is a collaboration with journals, look out for the journals also. Okay, see if you will get enough suggestions from the reviews that come in from that particular conference, because the entire process is this way, that you have to present your work in the conference. Maybe they'll publish it as a proceeding. That's one thing. You have to see if it's a Scopus listed proceeding or not. Again, there's something else. But the next thing that you see is that you have to ensure is that after the conference is done, you have to submit your article again to that particular journal which has partnered with the conference chairs or conference organization. Okay, so entire review process will go again. Okay, the entire process will be so you have to see that if from the conference anything is being contributed to, or it's making it better. So is there a value addition or not? You may ask if you have anything else into it, or did I answer your question?
Navya, you may unmute.
Okay, I think the point is taken maybe, but the only suggestion here that I wanted to give is going for those conferences that can really add to the value of the work, because otherwise you can directly submit to any of the journals, even that who have partnered with that particular conference. So it's not completely required that you have to first go in for the conference and then you have to submit to that particular journal. So it's not that way, but yeah, conferences definitely provide you with a lot of feedbacks. And if good reviews are done, then it's worth going there. So we have to look out for that particular thing. Yes.
Any other question can be posted by the participants. I think
I think no one has posted any more questions, and I think whatever has been posted has been taken up by Dr. Vibhash.
Yes, yes, it has been taken.
Right then,